Hi, my name is Senga. I'm a landscape architect here in North Vancouver, and it's vegetable growing season. And because we are in Canada, whether you're in Vancouver or Toronto, we have to generally start our seeds ahead of time. We have a limited growing season, so starting indoors is a good way to get a jump on the season. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a sunny south-facing window to start your edibles, because most seeds do require some sort of warmth. The exception would maybe be the cool season crops like Swiss chard or lettuces, which can tolerate more of a 60-degree germinating temperature. But the rest, like the tomatoes and the beans and the warm season crops, need about 70 degrees and good warmth and moisture in order to germinate and thrive. So that's number one. Number two, what I like to do is I like to pre-germinate my seeds before putting them in pots or in the ground regardless, just to ensure that I've got viable seeds that are growing instead of sticking them in a pot and then finding out later that the seed failed. So the easiest way, and I'll just use an example, is these pea seeds. And these pea seeds are already pre-germinating. It's a cool season crop. And these seeds here are simply you place, and this is the same for almost any kind of seeds, beans, even tomatoes. You just use moist paper towel and you cover the seeds with moist paper towel in a waterproof container, and then if you want you can wrap that up in a Glad bag, for example, so that you don't have to constantly water them all the time. And then you can either transfer your seeds to the garden if they happen to be peas, which would be quite fine because they are cool season crops. That's not a problem. Things like peas, however, and beans, they're require a little bit different treatment in that if you are going to transfer them to pots, you need to make sure that, because they don't like their roots disturbed too much, that you use containers that you can easily pop them out of. So in other words, these are pea seeds here, and these are the beans, and they're in cell packs. So you can either put your pre-germinated seeds in your cell packs, or if you wanted to take your chance, you can seed directly into them. And what will happen is the root mass will get so prolific in the little compartment that when you do finally pop them out to plant them, they become their own little self-contained pots, so you're not disturbing the roots. So that's the ticket for the beans and the peas. Melons and cucumbers are also similar in that they don't like their roots disturbed. So in that case, another alternative you might want to look at is the use of peat pots. Again, what happens here is the plant will grow in here, the roots come out through the sides, you can plunk the pot right in the ground, the roots won't be disturbed. Or you can also use these peat pellets, and they're basically little dried pucks. And here's the pucks that I'm talking about. I'm just pre-soaking them right now, and you can see they're slowly starting to expand until they actually become these self-contained little netted pots that are good for those seeds that don't like the roots disturbed. Now, if you want to look at recycling some of your old yogurt containers, things like, for example, tomatoes are quite happy. They can easily grow in these kind of containers. They're not so fussy about their roots being disturbed, so you can use regular pots for them. Here's a nifty little, this is actually recycled out of coconut hulls, which would also be adaptable in the same genre as the peat pots, where the pots do break down, so they're also great for cucumbers as well. But these yogurt containers are great in that you can get enough volume for something like starting a tomato. See the sizes. Make sure you have lots of drainage holes in the bottom. Yogurt containers for smaller seedlings. I even use these little dinner tray things, which actually would be very useful for things like starting your carrots or your lettuces. And they've actually come with their own little greenhouse effect plastic container on top so that you keep the soil moist while the seeds are germinating. But in any row, what you always want to do is you always want to make sure that your soil that you use when you are using pots is a sterilized or artificial soil with a high a water holding capacity. There's lots of soils out there now that have water holding polymers, so you don't have to water as much. You also want artificial soil because regular garden soil just won't do. It will end up introducing pathogens and bugs and diseases into your growing environment and potentially passing them on to your edibles. So here are all the different ways. Just to recap, if you've got things that like cucumbers, peas, beans, things that don't like their roots disturbed, you want to start looking at either pre-germinating and sowing directly in the ground, using containers that either break down and then all you have to do is directly plant them into the soil and they break down, peat pellets, or cell packs that are tiny little compartments that will cause these kind of plants to become so root bound that they become their own little containers when you put them in the ground. Those are for plants that have sensitive roots. For things that are more bomb-proof, like the tomatoes, you can easily go to the regular containers, or you can ad-lib your containers as well. Always remember that regardless, you always should place your edibles in a south-facing window, give them lots of moisture, a good amount of heat, 70 degrees for tomatoes. You can go a bit cooler for peas and cool season crops down to 60 degrees. And that's how you start seeds in a general way. If you want any more information or know how to specifically start certain plants, I do have a variety of videos covering beans, tomatoes, peas, Swiss chard, and all the rest on my YouTube site. Please visit me at www.sengadesigns.com. Thanks for watching.